From the ashes of a couple of stoves, a new one will keep going.
Old fridge, it looks as good as new.
Little pockets that we can use to store stuff on the boat. This is waste product for us at the moment.
Reused a piece of dark timber that was on our old saloon table. Welcome to Free Range Sailing. For those of you that are new here, our boat Marul is a Clansman 30. She's a fiberglass 30-foot masthead sloop built in New South Wales in 1969. Troy bought her 7 years ago in Cairns and sailed her around the top of Australia all the way to Perth. 3.5 years ago, we sailed north from Perth to circumnavigate the Australian continent together, filming our cruising adventures and attending to any essential maintenance along the way. We are currently in lockdown in Tasmania, the southernmost part of the continent, where we've decided to carry out a long overdue refit. If you want to be notified of all our weekly refit videos over the coming months, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button. So I've just popped home. Our fridge is really rusty, like the body of it. You would have seen back in New South Wales, we got a new lid for it because that was super rusty and we'd been sanding that and painting that and trying to bring it back, but we just couldn't bring it back, so we got a new lid.
Look at that.
Ta-da! This is like a new fridge.
But the body itself, we haven't painted that for 3 years, so the rust is starting to creep in. So I've got the multi-tool. This is the little triangle sanding attachment on the multi-tool. It's Velcro, so what I've got is I've bought some sandpaper from the fiberglass shop that's soft backing, so it sticks to Velcro surfaces if you want to use Velcro sanding blocks or if you want to use this multi-tool. So I'm just going to trace around the multi-tool triangle and we'll be able to Velcro on our own custom bits of sandpaper, because if you buy the actual bits, sandpaper bits for this tool, it's really expensive, so it's much cheaper to buy it in a roll with the felt on the back and stick it on yourself. So Engels are really great fridges. We've had this one for nearly 4 years now. It replaced an old Engel that Troy had, which died because he was coming down the WA coast, and the Dodger, the soft Dodger that we had before we built the hard Dodger, that got ripped off and a wave went in through the companionway and straight onto the fridge, so it killed the Engel. So this is the replacement one that Troy got second hand. So I think it's about 8 or 9 years old, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it apart from this rust problem.
Our little metho stove, the griller, has long since died. So we're actually getting rid of it. So we're going to have a burner here and here, but the griller added quite a bit of depth to the stove. And what that meant is sometimes the back end in a big seaway would hit, you know, like in its little recess where it lived, but it also took up valuable space. So now what we've done, took about 1.5 inches out of there, through the middle, and we actually put the bottom part of the stove, we folded it in a bit and we stuck it into the top. So now that we just have this little slot here, that's fine to catch any metho and stuff like that spills, but it's reduced the profile of our stove. And the way I've made it is 1 pin, 2 pins, and just one at the back.
Et voila! Oh, not voila. Et voila.
So it's really important, as you can see here, because this never used to be able to happen, that we can pull it apart and clean it. So this has got about 20 years of just stuff that can't be cleaned, but now it can. So we can reach in there and we can totally pull everything apart. So there you go, that's not much of a modification, but if you've got a maxi metho stove, how you're doing one over, that's a possibility, because we were wondering how we're going to do it, you know, should we screw it or whatever. But of course these little spring clips, it means you don't have to try and get a spanner in there to undo a screw. If we don't like it, if it tends to rattle or something like that later on, I should be able to fit a spanner in that gap, put a machine screw in, and I just put one in the back for the very same reason that it will be accessible. If I put them back here, it wouldn't work. Part of the free range sailing family, Peter and Tom, sent us their old stove and some burners. So these burners, and this is a burner, if I can get it out of there, that's a burner. We're going to put those back in, and these are like gold. Maxi don't make these stoves anymore, and this one was built in 97. Right, so what's that? We're 23 years. We're making still going. But these burners, they oxidise because there's a lot of heat going on. Salt environment's harsh, and they corrode. You know, they oxidise pretty badly and go. But these ones are in good condition. And also from this stove, these burners are in fair condition as well. But there's some other stuff like needle valves and things like that we can use. And together, out of 2 stoves and a few other things, we're going to make one really, really good stove. From the ashes of a couple of stoves, a new one will keep going. And that's, I think that's a really good thing. If we can keep existing things going for as long as possible, we like to do that wherever we can.
Well, it's Thursday. We're moving back onto the boat on Saturday. I think I've got at least a week's worth of things to do in 2.5 days. It's midday on Thursday. And top of the list is to keep going with that fridge. I started it yesterday. Need to go tape it up because I started sanding it yesterday. I got a bit told off by Troy. I started sanding it yesterday without taping it up, so a lot of dust and stuff's gone around the engine and down on the inside of it. What is left to do with the fridge, what I plan to do with the fridge today, is finish sanding it. So I've actually got to sand the base because the base is quite rusty. And then after I've done that, I'm going to give it a wipe down and then paint it with some kill rust. So it's a chemical that will just stop the rust from spreading. We're going to put that on, then let that cure for a few hours. I've got to check the instructions. And then after that, I'm going to prime it with some spray paint epoxy primer for metal. Spray it with that, maybe do 1 or 2 coats of that. So I'll have to wait in between that. And in between that, I'll be able to do all my other jobs. And then after that, spray it with silver. So we've got it back to being beautiful, shiny, matte silver. So anyway, I'm going to press on with the fridge. Everything's just going to be hectic, crazy, busy right now, so I'll probably just cue a whole lot of time lapses. Okay, so it's the last of the daylight hours. Hopefully I can get this primer coat on ready for the spray paint that we'll put on tomorrow. I've just been wiping it down, the fridge down. The rust repair stuff looks like it's worked really well. It's gone black and the surface looks all smooth. So I've taped everything down and I'm just gonna apply the epoxy now. You're supposed to apply it between 10 and 30 degrees. It's a bit colder than 10 degrees now, but I'm just gonna have to roll with it because it's not getting any warmer.
Now I just want to make a bit of a bench top over our stove. So I've got some of this laminated timber. It's a nice product because it's inexpensive, but it's using a waste product, gluing it all together. And it's quite nice in appearance, lots of variation, so it should look pretty good when Pascale's doing cooking episodes later on. Because the boat's not straight, I can't just, bam, measure it and whack out a square section. I could have gone to the trouble of totally rebuilding the cabinetry instead of using what was already existing, but I decided just to, once again, make an MDF template and put it there. So I'm just going to trace it onto here, bandsaw it out, and this MDF's not really going to be that great if I follow it up with the router, so what I'll do is I'll just get some timber with the double-sided tape stick it on there on the line, and then I'll route it for a final finish. So the route is really good at getting like a nice hard edge, but it's also really good for edge treatments. So I don't know if you can see that, but what I want to do is just, it's not perfectly square, but also on a boat you don't just want just straight square edges. They're prone to chipping and you know, things like that. So I'll just give this an edge treatment. So rather than a round over, I'm just going to have a slight hollow, and it'll give it a little bit more complexity to the edge, and it just gives a bit more of a finished look to it.
So I just finished putting the third and final coat of silver spray paint on the fridge, and it looks pretty good for an old fridge. It looks as good as new. There's a few dents on it, probably from me trying to jam it in and out of its space on the boat, but it's looking pretty good. So I'll just show you it now, and I'm hoping it's going to look great when we put it in the saloon tomorrow when we move back onto the boat full time. So things are a bit crazy, but at least the fridge is done. Our new rust-free fridge. As I was saying before, things are a little bit crazy. I have all of the food and everything that was in the cupboards in the kitchen out, so I'm just packing that all away now.
I've got this acrylic that's left over from various things. This used to be the clear acrylic that used to be on the table. Now I've cut it to these shapes, all right? And what we're going to try and do is bend it into some little pockets that we can use to store stuff on the boat. Because this is waste product for us at the moment, but acrylic is incredibly handy stuff. So it's a thermoplastic. If I heat this stuff up, it'll become soft and I can shape it how I want. So I've measured this, so the actual pocket there, I can't even remember what I measured. Let's just have a quick look at my trusty tape. So the pocket's going to be 300 wide, all right, and it's going to be 100 deep. So these are 130, I'm talking about millimeters at the moment, because what I want to have is like a little 30 millimeter, 3 centimeter, a 30 millimeter little edge where I can put screw holes to mount this on, but all will become clear very shortly. So what we're going to have a look at now is just bending acrylic. It's not very difficult, and maybe it'll give some of you some ideas for projects in the future. I just want to just make a note of here when we were cutting this out, I used a Forstner bit just to cut a round relief hole here. If you come to a sharp corner here, just like on many materials on boats, they'll relieve stresses by making a circular cut. It means that there's no sharp point for a crack to propagate and go out and break this thing. Okay, so oftentimes on boats you'll see that they'll have cut like round holes in lightning holes and all sorts of stuff like that, and that's the reason, because there's no sharp corner for a crack to start on a circle. It distributes forces evenly throughout, well, whatever you've got of the circle. This is 3/4 of a circle, so it's not 360 degrees. But that's why I've cut those circles in there, to relieve stress. Otherwise what will happen is when I start bending this, wherever there's a crack, it'll just run off and it'll just snap straight off. So that keeps things just a little bit stronger. All right, I'm going to use a heat gun to bend this and a little improvised jig. So we're going to have a look. As we've said before, if you can find a way using verniers or these little set squares to just have a fixed measurement for doing your layout, it makes it quicker because you don't have to measure everything, and because you're not measuring everything, all you have to do is just visually check that it's still on that 15 as you go. Things are quicker, but there's less mistakes. Let's take the protective plastic coat off here before I start hitting it with a heat gun, I think. About 30 from that edge. That edge. I just need to fold the other two up and we'll get to the next stage. Oh, there you go. It doesn't rock very much. So all those bends have to be fairly straight. So it's pretty good. So now that we've got the tabs bent down, of course we just need to bend these up this way and we'll have our pocket. I've put a packing piece under here because of course these bits that I folded down stop us from using the flat bench. So we've got these two clamps here, and of course I couldn't use this bit of wood because it's just a little bit long, so I just found another little bit of scrap, and I know that it does lift up there. So we'll just heat this up and bam. So this one here, I'm just making sure that this is 90 degrees to that, so we get a nice straight bend. And there's the finished product. All right, not groundbreaking, is it? But it's better than throwing it in the bin. And we'll go and fit it to the boat. So I'm not an expert on plastics, but you don't have to be able to make something fairly useful out of acrylic. I don't think Pascale's that thrilled by having plastic things. She likes me to make everything out of wood. Better than in the bin. Here's our little pocket in place. It's really unobtrusive, and that's, you know, like this through here is just the white part of the boat. So this sort of blends into the background. Now I've screwed it in place, and I can see a little bit of tension has been set up, and it's causing this to bow in. What you can do is just hit it with a heat gun, and you can put this out a bit, but also on these bends, if they're under tension from its new place, you can just gently heat that up and sort of normalize everything so it's not under tension all the time, and then it'll sort of adapt to its new home a little bit better if you like. I've been using the heat gun, and I've just got this sanding pad because it's quite broad and it's nice and flat, and just pushed it out. So it was bowed in quite a bit before, because as I bent these a little bit past 90 degrees, so as I put them out, they're really strong here, but it did cause a little bit of bowing in here. So I've just been heating this corner and just along here, and it's already put it out quite nicely. Once it's nice and cool, then it'll all be set, and we'll have just a handy little pocket. Like I said, it's a lot better than popping it in the bin. Very strong, very resilient, very easy to clean.
Well, it's time to say goodbye to my green jumper. It's got holes in it. It's shrunk to about 1/3 of its size. It's got paint on it. Goodbye, green jumper. And we thought we'd show you the size of our bed in our forward V-berth. So this is it. So it's actually quite big for a 30-foot boat, we reckon. Fits me easily, no worries at all, straight. And Troy's pretty good, he can like curl up like this. Anyway, we feel like we have lots of space. We actually sleep with our feet up this end, forward, and our heads towards the aft. And yeah, it's really great. We find that queen and king size sheets fit really well on this. King size is a bit better because there's more room to stretch us across the widest part, because at the widest part it's almost the width of a king size bed. I got these covers made up when he got the boat, and they've lasted really well. So yeah, we're going to put these on, and it's a bit tricky because it's a tight fit. Yeah, so this foam was pretty expensive. It was the most expensive foam in the shop, obviously, but I like that one the most because I went and lay on all the different foams, and this one was the firmest. And for this foam, it was $500, so quite a bit of money. A bit less in American dollars, like $350 in American dollars.
Yeah, the Australian peso is a little bit different.
Oh, got it. Oh, yes, got it.
So we just want to get the spine
Yeah.
of the cover along the spine of the cushion.
Okay, so my end is good.
Oh.
Oh no. So we were singing the praises of the mattress cover.
Mattress cover's awesome. Can't really help that a YKK Zips had the ass pulled out of it.
So you managed to get the zip back onto the channel, but now we're just sewing it up so it doesn't come away at the end.
It had been 3 years since we'd had a winter together, and we felt so lucky to have been able to spend it in a cosy cottage in southern Tasmania. To experience the change of the seasons was a stark contrast to the often monotonous weather of the tropics. To feel the cool breeze blowing from the southwest and the beginning of the warm gales from the north. In an instant, spring had arrived. We'd said a final goodbye to our feathered and furry neighbours, and with a gigantic list of springtime refit jobs still ahead of us, we headed home to Marul.
Ta-da! Well, here you have it. It's the other half of our galley that we haven't really shown to you yet. And this incorporates all the things that we were working on in the last couple of weeks when we were staying at the house. This is the beautiful workbench that Troy made for me at Lance's workshop out of Tasmanian oak. And we've just been treating it with food grade oil. Butcher Block conditioner, which is food grade mineral oil with natural waxes. And it's really beautiful. I really love the look of it. It's really brought together the galley really nicely, and it's very functional. We've got a little bit of a continuing drop board theme running in the galley and all around the interior of the boat. These drop boards here, they're sitting in the same aluminium channel as the sliding doors, and this is going to be where I keep all my spices and things like that while we're cooking. So they just slot in like that. And I suppose when I'm cooking I'll probably have this removed. When we're at anchor I'll probably have that removed so I can access them easily. And then when we're underway and when it's messy seas, this is very secure having this top one on. It's a really snug fit and it's very high. And while we're on the theme of drop boards, let me show you something really fantastic that Troy has designed. We didn't film it, we weren't sure if it was going to work, but we're really pleased with the results. So I'll just put the chopping board aside. We actually haven't figured out a space that's good for storing this workbench in a rolly anchorage or if we're underway and I'm cooking. So you'll have to stay tuned. We have to nut it out and figure out a spot for it. But let's talk about this interesting and pretty amazing design feature that Troy's built into our stovetop area. So here it is, another drop board. For this drop board we actually reused a piece of dark timber that was on our old saloon table. We don't actually need this timber. We've come up with a new solution for our table, which we'll be showing you in another episode. So we actually used this beautiful piece of timber as our drop board to slot it in to have a snug fit behind our stove. But the reason why we want to remove it and have removable drop boards is because when we're in a seaway we can unhook its clips and it can gimbal. We can have all that movement, full range of movement in our stove. So if we're on a big hill, the stove is not going to get uninterrupted and nothing is going to spill, which is really fantastic. What we had before was a fixed piece of ply, and when we were on that tack, the stove was constantly banging, and it was a real pain, and it was quite hard. It made it quite difficult to cook. If we remove the stove, I'll show you something else. And you can see now, with the stove removed, we've got another drop board here. Again, it's quite stiff and firm, and we don't expect the wood to expand anymore, because what we did is we actually painted both of these drop boards with 2 coats of epoxy, sanded them back, and then applied 3 or 4 coats of varnish to them, so they're pretty strong and solid. So behind here, in this previously wasted space, because we couldn't access it because this was a piece of ply, we've put our water maker, our Catadyne Power Survivor. Troy's really excited because servicing it is going to be so simple. Like, he can get in here with his tools and access it, and it's not going to be an issue. On top of that, it's really easy for us to lift the top drop board, just have a look, make sure that everything's fine when we turn it on, just to make sure that all of the tubes are connected properly, and hit the switch. And then when we pop the drop board back on, we'll hear it, but it will be much, much quieter than where it used to be. And if you remember where it used to be, it used to sit here above the fridge. And now we've got a space there, so I'm thinking that we might put a hanging bag there and hang some of our fruit and veg there. It's going to be really easy to clean these spaces now. We can reach our hands in and wipe down in here, which was something we couldn't do before because it was a void space, and I had to reach in through a cubbyhole locker in here to get in to try and pull any food and clean it. So everything is just like really easy access now. You can see like all of this space is so easy to get into. It's just going to make living on this boat so much easier, and cooking and preparing meals, so, and making water, so we have drinking water and cooking water when it's not raining. Let's put the drop boards back in. As you can see, they're really nice and firm. It's really, really nicely built by Troy. There we go. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Our boat is not pristine as it looks in the video right now. Things are crazy. We are working really hard on the outside of the boat. So stay tuned, and there's a lot more to come. You got anything to say there, Captain?
Nah.
Alright, see you next week, guys.
If you enjoyed the episode this week, thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel.